This week I started with 4 old scores to replace for my Handicap Reset. I managed to replace 3 of them, and now only 1 score remains before I move on to the next phase of this process, the rebuild. The 3 scores I shot were a 9-hole 37, then my dad came and visited for several days, and I shot a 77 with him, and an 18-hole 87. I started the week with an 8.3 Handicap Index. After the 37, it dropped to an 8.2. After the 77, it dropped to an 8.0. And after the 87, it remained the same, 8.0. So even though the week ended with a rough round, I still finished 3/10 lower than where I started. Hey Boom Squad, back 9 warriors, and anyone out there fighting for par, welcome to Aim High, Shoot Low. I'm Bobby Golf. This is the latest update in my Handicap Reset series, where I've been replacing my old rounds with current scores to get the most accurate picture of who I am today so I can begin my rebuild. At the start of the week, I only had 4 rounds left to replace, and now there's only 1 round remaining. And the most notable difference between those rounds is the ball striking. The first score was a 9-hole 37. That's 1 over par. My ball striking was significantly better, and I hit a lot of greens in regulation, which made the round feel much more controlled, and instead of constantly trying to recover, scramble, and save par from difficult positions, I was giving myself actual birdie opportunities and much easier pars. This is the kind of golf I've been trying to find with this reset. The 37 dropped my handicap from an 8.3 to an 8.2, but the bigger takeaway was how I produced the score. It was not built on making miracle putts or getting lucky after bad shots. It came from better contact, hitting more greens, and having fewer stressful holes. The next round was even more encouraging, a 77 for 18 holes. Again, the ball striking was much better. I hit a lot of greens, gave myself opportunities, and played the kind of golf that felt closer to the game I remember. And after that round, my handicap dropped from an 8.2 to an 8.0. Obviously, I was very happy with that score, but I was even more encouraged by the correlation between the 37 and the 77. When I can hit the greens in regulation and keep the ball in the right positions, I can still score. The game becomes simpler. I'm not asking for the short game to recover every hole. I'm not putting near as much pressure on the boomstick to save me from 6 feet time and time again. I'm playing many more holes from the position of control, and that feels repeatable. That is exactly what I'm looking for as I get ready to transition from the reset to the rebuild. Then came the final round of the week. I shot an 87, and the ball striking was absolutely abysmal. It was nearly the complete opposite of the 2 rounds previous. I missed way too many greens, put myself in very poor positions, and spent much of the round trying to scramble and recover. When the ball striking disappears, every other aspect of my game becomes much more important. The short game has to be stronger. The boomstick has to save way more strokes. Course management becomes way more difficult because you're playing from really challenging positions. But the 87 did not change the handicap. It remained at an 8.0. But it gave me a very clear example that inconsistently still plays a big part in my game. I can shoot 37 over 9 holes. I can shoot 77 over 18. Pretty easily. And I can follow that up with an 87 when ball striking falls apart. And that gap is probably one of the biggest things that the rebuild needs to assess. The biggest lesson from these 3 rounds is pretty simple. My scoring is heavily connected to the quality of my approach play and how many greens I hit. When the contact is good and I'm hitting greens, I can still produce very good scores. When the contact is poor, the entire round becomes more difficult. That does not mean I'm declaring ball striking is the only problem I have in my game. Once the last score is replaced, I want to look at everything: driving, approach play, putting, course management, how I avoid big numbers, physical fatigue, because that's a big one, and consistency from one round to the next. But based on what I saw this week, and in hindsight looking at this entire process, greens in regulation and approach play are going to be very high on that list. Good. I began this week with only 4 scores to replace. Now there's only one remaining. Once that final score is replaced, the handicap reset will be complete, and at that point my scoring record will be made entirely of current golf. That gives me the baseline I've been looking for. The reset answers the question, where is my golf game now? The rebuild will answer the question, what do I need to fix first? That is where I want to take this series next. I want to identify the biggest weakness in my game, the second biggest weakness of my game, and the areas of my game that may only need maintenance. Then I can build a focused improvement plan instead of practicing just whatever feels convenient. Before I wrap this up, make sure you're subscribed and keep those notifications on. I have a fun video coming up that's a little different than my normal content, but I'm pretty sure it'll make you smile. And that is this week's Handicap Reset. My scores were a 37, a 77, and an 87. My handicap moved from an 8.3 to an 8.0. My first two rounds showed what my game looks like when my ball striking is strong. The final round showed how quickly things can change and disappear when my ball striking is less than ideal. And now only one score remains before the reset becomes the rebuild. Let me know in the comments. Based on these 3 rounds, would you make approach play and greens in regulation the first priority in a rebuild? Thanks for watching. Aim high, shoot low. We'll see you in the next one.